Take just a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, no.
I was too, Mayor. Don't worry about it.
We all late.
And I think we are on YouTube and recording, so we're ready when you are.
Okay, sounds good. The License Committee meeting is now called to order. Let's just take a moment of silence. Amen. I don't have the agenda before me, but I think next is new business.
Minutes.
It's
The
yes,
minutes.
sir.
Do I hear a motion?
Move for
So-
approval of minutes of March 20th, 2023.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
And Mr. Chairman, the next item is any old business.
Yes, yes. Any old business? If not, let's move on to new business.
And I think this is the presentation of the late night establishment progress report, and Meg and Deputy Chief Thompson are on for that.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, before we go on with the new business, I'd like to see if I can amend the agenda and add something to under new business.
Sure, that'll require what, 2/3 vote?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, and
This-
make a motion.
And the motion is that we discuss, look at the of people that's doing tearing things down that's historical and not getting the proper permit from the BAR, before, information from BAR before doing it. And this is dealing with the contractors.
Okay, that's something we discussed before. It is a licensing issue. Is that a motion?
That's
Is
the
that a
motion.
motion? Do I
That's
hear a
the motion.
second? The motion is to add to our agenda a discussion of permits.
That contractors who is tearing down properties that's historical and not getting a permit, they're having permission from the BAR to do so.
Okay, that's the motion. Do I hear I'll second it.
So,
Moved and proper. Mr. Mayor? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Chairman, I'm not going to oppose having a discussion, but it just sounds to me from the topic that would be best to have our planning BAR and maybe livability folks to be a part of this discussion. They kind of handle that stuff more than anybody else.
Okay, do you want to?
The reason why I'm saying that we are discussing it in council pertaining to the property that have been done, whatever the case may be. But this is going more so with the contractors who have license to do these work in the city. And if they're knowingly doing this and knowingly anything south of Calhoun Street is under the BAR preservation, and they're doing it anyway, that's the problem I'm having with it. And they're doing it and get away with it, but we are doing something under the planning commission to even find these individuals or find the particular places that's doing it. But what's happening to the contractor who is actually doing the work too? With their license and their license for the city of Charleston, that's all I'm saying.
I see.
But if we have to hold it off or whatever the case may be, so be it. But I believe that they,
I think we can talk about it. I just think that I don't know how far we get into the BAR part of it. We've already talking about it now.
Yeah, and I think you
Let's call the question and add it to the agenda.
yes.
Yeah.
All in favor say aye.
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 The ayes have it. Why don't we go with Greg and Dustin? Meg, rather, I'm sorry.
Sure, thank you, sir. So let me switch over here. So we are here today to give an update to the late night establishment ordinance that y'all passed late last year. While I'm the one giving this presentation, I do want to point out that this has been a joint interdepartmental effort from the get-go. So we have representatives from the police department, the legal office, and the fire marshal on the line who have been instrumental in working through these. So just wanted to, if I defer to them, that's why. All right, so just a quick refresher on how we got here. Back in 2013, there was an original L&E ordinance passed. And then there were some proposed updates to that have come through council. There were just some different iterations of that, some different community outreach, and then the actual ordinance got final approval in September of last year, and then everyone was expected to come into compliance of February of this year. In addition to that timeline, another related initiative that was going on was the IntelliCheck pilot program. This was the program we were doing with the company IntelliCheck to do ID scanning at bars and restaurants to make sure there wasn't any underage drinking going on. That pilot was really successful, and post-pilot, that company has agreed to continue working with us to offer discounted rates to businesses in the city of Charleston. So I'm here today because the ordinance that was passed actually states that I need to come and do a report to y'all every year on how things are going. So this is just to get you up to speed on how things have been going in this first year of implementing the ordinance. Because it's been a little while since we've talked, just a quick refresher, there are a couple different requirements for actually operating past midnight. With an L&E ordinance. So not only do you operate past midnight, you have to sell alcohol for on-premise consumption. Those are key pieces. There's also a zoning check that comes into place depending on whether or not you're 500 feet from a residentially zoned district. That you actually have to go to BZA for a special exception. Then in addition, you would need to get your L&E permit and your BLCO, your business license certificate of occupancy, before you can do this kind of operation. So the new application process has several steps. We look for not only contact information of the property owner, but also the business owner and the management, so that we can get in touch with who is the most appropriate person depending on the issue. We ask for a security management plan that is reviewed by the police department. They also review the underage drinking plan. The fire marshal will review the fire safety and emergency action plan, a site plan, a floor plan, and also making sure that their business license certificate of occupancy is current. Once all of these documents have been submitted and approved, the business will then need to schedule and pass a fire marshal inspection before they can pay for and receive their permit. And here's where things currently stand. As of this morning, when I pulled the report, we've had 69 businesses apply. About 45% of them have been through the entire process and have been approved. And these other steps I've tried to put in kind of a clockwise perception to get you through kind of sequentially. So we do have a few that while they have submitted, they are missing information. So one of those attachments that I showed you, one of those could be missing, and we're in contact with the business to try to get that information in. It could be that they have submitted everything, but it needs correction. So a lot of these are the security plans. So all of those businesses are in conversation with the police department about what corrections or updates are needed. There is another group that is pending inspection. So this group, they've got all of their documents approved, but they need to get their inspection scheduled. I will say some of these, the fire marshal has been holding off on, because they also need to comply with some other requirements. So like getting their hood inspected and making sure that paperwork is turned in, because if it's not, it would be an automatic failure if the fire marshal did go out. We have another group here that needs reinspection. We have some folks who they did have a first inspection and there was an issue of some kind that they need to correct. Once that is corrected, the fire marshal will come out, reinspect, and then hopefully move them through to the approval. I did note here that under the previous ordinance there, we did have close to over 100 businesses come through. What we've been doing now is kind of reaching out, seeing who has not applied, who we may have missed, looking at kind of various lists through revenue collections, through BNS doing some research, We've identified about 15 businesses that probably need to apply that haven't yet. All of those businesses have been contacted by the fire marshal and have been encouraged to get into compliance. Our focus right now is trying to get everyone who has applied through the process, and then we'll work on really pushing to get those other 15 or more if we identify them through the system. The other piece on this that will be coming up is that there was a renewal component added to this ordinance. So these permits are good for 2 years. The idea is here to like sync up with a liquor license being good for 2 years. So we'll be coming up on needing to work on these renewals, but we're still in the first year. So we've got a year to go on this. And that is it. Any questions for me or for the team that has been working on this?
Any questions? And this is just for information, right, Meg?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
I have a question.
Yeah, I can't see the hands. Yes, Mayor?
So, and this might be a question both for you, Meg Thompson, and for DC Thompson. Part of the intent of this was to complement our safety efforts for Upper King Street and any other area of the city where we had late night establishments, correct?
Yes, sir. It's citywide.
Is the jury in? Has it helped? Made any difference? We feel like we've corrected some things out there. Just can I get some response about how y'all feel it's going on top of the compliance part?
For me, Mr. Mayor, I would say yes. I even thanked our team internally last time in our last meeting and said that in preparation for this meeting that, I want to thank our business owners citywide for getting us through, that just to break it down, even the level of engagement between our staff, Meg's staff, and fire staff has improved our communications, across the city with our restaurants. And, we've had one or two issues over the last couple of months that legal has really helped us out with one or two establishments. Those have been minor in our eyes. I'll just say that, I think it was the right move at council direction to allow these businesses to come up with their own plans, us giving them a template and some guidance, but them coming up with their own plans, what they're comfortable with, and their staff and their clothing. And in my opinion, I believe it's working really well. And once we get those 15 or so in compliance, we'll start moving forward. But thankfully, there's been no rush to us have to take a lot of action on any large issues, in my opinion. So hopefully that answers your question. But again, just thanking our restaurants and business owners for working with us and being patient with us, getting back to them, making sure they have a good plan, both police and fire. And so I think that it was the right move to do this, and hopefully it'll continue our public safety citywide to improve.
How do we measure the number of underage persons who were turned away?
Sure. Let me pull that slide back up 1 second. Get back there. There it is. All right. So I did do a little bit of comprehensive stats down here at the bottom. So during that 6-month pilot, we did approximately 18,000 scans per month. That's about 4,500 scans per week across 27 establishments that participated in the pilot. As you can see, about 97% of those scans were good, but it's that 2% and 1% that were either failed, as in straight up fake IDs, or we were also looking for expired IDs. So this is someone who is maybe using their big sister's ID to try to get into places. So overall was pretty good. But yeah, we were doing pretty significant volume of scans.
Okay, sorry I missed that. Thank you.
No worries.
And Meg, go back one more slide to that timeline, just refresh my memory on all of this. So I see when we formed this, you met with the restaurant advisory group. I know it seemed like your intent here today was to fulfill the reporting requirement of the ordinance. Are you also, or would you also go back to that restaurant advisory group now after a year and kind of give them a report and ask them how it's going, and or maybe you've done that already?
Sure. Well, we meet with them quarterly, so this would probably be on the agenda for next quarter's meeting to see how they're feeling. I will say there are probably some tweaks and updates we can make to make the process easier. So I would look forward to getting that input from them.
Great.
And then I just want to point out DC Thompson and Fire Marshal Flugie both have their hands raised.
Yes. Because I can't see the raising of the hands. Thanks, Meg.
Mhm.
Just an interesting sidebar to your question, council member. One of the drinking establishments that I've actually done an inspection on has actually created a table with all the fake IDs that they've confiscated and they've got it laminated kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I think so too.
Oh, that's good.
And I was going to follow up on that same topic just as well, just to let the group know that the police department does have the IntelliCheck technology. We've used it for many years. We have several licenses that we deploy to our patrol and then our special investigation unit. And so we're continuing with that, but just want to make everybody aware of it. And we're also still partnering with our state, with SLED, and they'll periodically come down for some inspections. And so that's still ongoing.
Rick, did you have any fire safety issues that became apparent because of all this that made the places any safer?
Yes, sir, I think so. A lot of it, like Ms. Meg was saying, we're actually using what we call the compliance engine. It's a third-party software system that the contractors have to upload their inspection reports for the hood cleaning, the kitchen suppression, the fire alarm, the sprinkler, and the like. And I'm not scheduling the L&E inspection until those reports are uploaded, because like Ms. Meg said, if I did, they'd automatically fail. So I'm getting after these folks, getting after the contractors, making sure these systems are maintained. As you may be aware, we actually created an operational permit for the kitchen exhaust hood cleaners because they're not licensed by anybody. And the problems we had with Sticky Fingers, A.W. Shucks, Anson's Restaurants, and the like. And so I think that is making an impact there as well.
Right.
Hello.
All right. Well, that all sounds good.
Just one other question, and it may not have anything to do with this, but I think we're all aware of the new liability insurance that late night establishments are sort of squawking about. Did that pass, Mayor? I can't remember, but it passed, and it's now a requirement that they have at least $1 million worth of insurance coverage. It did pass, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
I thought it did.
Part of the reason why the costs have gone up so much.
Yes, yes. And
because of,
and I don't know how we measure whether or not that's having an effect in terms of the bartenders and the like, and taking closer notice of those who are pretty inebriated and shouldn't have another drink, and having them to be escorted out if necessary. Just something that I just wanted to bring to the table, because if we can get some data on that, it would also sort of complete what we're attempting to do here. So just something to think about, Meg.
And Mr. Chairman, Rick also has his hand up again.
Okay. We'll start with Rick and then Meg.
And to go along with that thought process, council member, as part of my discussion with them as well, that we're in the liability exposure management business, where by maintaining their systems, by maintaining these programs and stuff, we're actually helping to reduce their liability exposure. So that's part of the standard pitch, I guess you could say, I give to these folks when we do the inspection.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's perfect, Rick. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Meg. Any other questions? Keep up the good work.
Yes. Good work.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
We're moving.
Okay. And I think that was the only thing on the new business agenda, except for the one we're putting on, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, Meg?
Sorry, Chairman, this is Mallory Shear. I was, when we made our motion, we did have the 2/3 vote, but we did not have an exigent circumstance to add it to the agenda. So I just wanted to point that out before any discussion started.
And I appreciate that, because that is a requirement,
Yes.
exigency. And I don't know whether or not this could be that. However, if we do have contractors out there that are violating our rules and we don't have any penalties, such as revoking license, putting on probation or anything like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have any of that in place yet, do we? Which could in and of itself be exigent circumstances, because we may in fact have contractors who might have violated the rules and they have not been called on it or penalized for it. And as a result, they may be continuing to break the rules. Wouldn't that make it exigent?
Exigent, yeah. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Keith. I think I know Councilman Gregory and Mitchell be familiar with this. This may be new to you, Mr. Mayor, and Councilman Shealy. But when we had the illegal dumping that was taking place on what we now call Carl Richardson Park, I actually took pictures of it, Mayor Tecklenburg, and I took pictures of it over a period of months. Then I brought it to Mayor Riley's attention about the abuse that was happening to the property. Actually, it was when Meminger Auditorium at Elementary School was being rebuilt and auditorium renovated. The company that had the demolition contract, instead of taking those bricks and refuge to the landfill, they brought it over in the Ashleyville area and dumped it, bought a piece of property and dumped it over there. When I showed it to Mayor Riley, he actually called the permit department, put a stop work order on the job that day until, on the Meminger job, until we could get to the bottom of it. Of course, we had good results when we got to the bottom of it. We now can enjoy for the next 50 years. So if an ongoing violation is taking place, why can't we have, I think that is the exigent circumstance to have the discussion or the motion put on the agenda. Mr. Councilman Mitchell, you said this is ongoing?
Well, the thing is that I think Mr. Summerfield, we had some something that happened that a person, something that happened to a place, an establishment anyway.
Can I just get a point of order? I think we need to get an answer from our legal department
before we go.
Whether or not what we're getting ready to discuss is in fact exigent circumstances.
Correct. Yeah.
So that we can continue the discussion.
I would feel safer if we had a new agenda and went forward on this. I don't see anything rising to an exigent circumstance that this would have to be discussed at this moment. And I think some of the parties, such as livability and public service and other people involved, we would benefit from having their voices here and having it noticed.
It is a licensing issue, though.
Yeah.
It is a component, yes.
Yes.
So Chairman, can I get an answer that is it an ongoing issue, Councilman Mitchell? I mean, as we speak, are they potentially violating it? Anyway, is violation going on as we speak, or is it something that could wait 2 weeks?
Well, I think under the planning commission, they're working on something now that came to before council. That people who had went and doing things after the fact.
You mean our planning department?
The planning department, yeah. The planning department is working on it, want to bring it back to the council. and who have torn down something and coming back to the planning commission, you know, and going before the BAR after the fact approval. And so this is why I brought it up. I said, if they're gonna, you know, be doing something to find them, the establishment, how about the person or the developer or the contractor who have torn it down?
Oh, so this has already been torn down then. They're not out there tearing
It's
it down.
still, they haven't repaired it yet, but you know, we are still going through with the planning commission. I don't know when Mr. Summerfield, they're gonna finish that up, but they brought it before council doing any person that's doing anything after the fact. And that's when we spoke about, you know, doing that, but the contractor is the one that tore it down.
If I may, and I think that maybe we need to err on the side of
Being cautious.
caution,
Cautious, yeah.
especially given the opinion from our legal department, and
Yes.
perhaps need to move this to a specific agenda item.
Okay, that's fine.
And as suggested, when we call the next meeting, and we can call a special licensing meeting for this if necessary, we make sure that we have all the players at the table for the discussion. Fair enough?
That'd be
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Is there anything else to come before the committee?
Oh, if nothing else, I move for adjournment.
Okay.
Second.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
And thanks for the legal advice too, by the way.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.